Ottawa skates into Raleigh on the second half of a back-to-back, with trade whispers swirling around the Senators, while in Washington, Canada's business and political players jockey for position ahead of a make-or-break 2026 reset of our biggest trade deal. Quick Ottawa weather, sunny, with a high of -5 degrees Celsius and a low of -14. Let's start with hockey. The Hurricanes host the Senators tonight in Carolina's last home game before the Olympic break. The Canes have points in 8 straight and won the last meeting 4-1, a game decided by goaltending. Ottawa could feel the wear and tear after playing Pittsburgh last night, so special teams and the first 10 minutes matter even more. On the numbers, Ottawa's power play is top 10, but the penalty kill sits 30th, a risk against a surging Carolina attack. Watch for Sebastian Aho, who scored in 2 straight, plus Jordan Staal and Shayne Gostisbehere, both riding 3-game point streaks. Milestones are in the air as well. Taylor Hall is 4 shy of 300 career goals, and Staal is 4 from 300 assists. Off the ice, NHL insider Elliotte Friedman says a Senators trade could be percolating. He also hinted the organization wasn't thrilled with some of his earlier reporting, so keep an eye out for tension as the deadline chatter heats up. To the Olympics. Canada opens competition with mixed doubles curling. Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant face Czechia to get things rolling. In bobsleigh, former Dow Tigers forward Mike Evelyn O'Higgins is pulling double duty in the 2- and 4-man events while holding down a full-time engineering career, one of those uniquely Canadian multi-hyphenate stories you love to see. In figure skating, Diana Stellato-Dudek and Maxime Deschamps have withdrawn from the team event due to Stellato-Dudek's injury. Her status for pairs is still being evaluated. Hockey-wise, Sam Bennett steps in for Anthony Cirelli on the men's roster after Cirelli's injury. And in tennis, Canada hosts Brazil in the Davis Cup qualifiers first round in Vancouver. Here at home, CBC Ottawa is leaning into community as the games begin. Alongside the Ottawa Public Library, they'll host a family-friendly Olympic women's hockey watch event with activities, giveaways, and special guests. Nationally, CBC is partnering with libraries across the country for free, inclusive Olympic and Paralympic watch parties this year, complete with toolkits to help communities celebrate together. And in a nod to political history, Ottawa is marking the 20th anniversary of Stephen Harper's government with multiple events, including the unveiling of his official portrait. The Royal Canadian Geographical Society will award Harper its Gold Medal for Distinguished Public Service. Zooming out to national politics, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre heads into the party's Calgary convention, focused on shoring up leadership support while navigating a shifting public mood. His message remains laser-focused on curbing immigration, tackling crime, and the cost of living, while trying to expand the party's reach among younger and working-class voters. The Conservatives raised nearly $48 million last year under his stewardship. Formidable numbers, but public perception is polarized. More Canadians view Poilievre positively than in 2022, but negative impressions have climbed too. Meanwhile, federal approvals have improved, with more Canadians now saying they approve of Prime Minister Mark Carney's leadership than when Poilievre first took the helm. Translation: both leaders have momentum in different ways, and the center of gravity could still shift. That shift might be forced by trade. The Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, is due for its mandatory review in 2026, and the United States has already started public consultations. The current Trump administration has cast CUSMA as potentially transitional, signaling it could push hard for changes. Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc plans high-level talks with U.S. counterparts this month as the pre-game to serious negotiations. The Canada-U.S. economy is sometimes described as an iceberg. What you see at the border is only a fraction of what's interconnected beneath the surface. That's why these talks matter to Ottawa manufacturers, tech firms, farmers, and service providers alike. The business community is mobilizing too. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce is leading a mission to Washington focused on the future of manufacturing and North American supply chains. Trade drives more than a third of Canada's GDP, and over 70% of our exports go south. The agenda reflects where the economy is headed: AI-enabled supply chains, real-time data, and digital trade rules, plus the tough stuff like tariffs, geopolitical uncertainty, and how all of this intersects with climate resilience. For Ottawa's growing AI and software scene, as well as our logistics and public sector innovators, the takeaway is clear. The next chapter of Canada-US trade won't just be about moving goods, but moving data responsibly and transparently across borders. Conservative MP Jamil Javani is making his own push in D.C. He says he's ready to help restart trade conversations if the Prime Minister wants the assist, pointing to his personal connection with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance from their Yale law days. After receiving no response to a series of emails to the government, he's gone anyway, meeting with auto and manufacturing stakeholders and attending the National Prayer Breakfast. It's an unconventional play, but it underscores how many Canadian actors, government and opposition, business and civil society, are trying to get in position ahead of the CUSMA review. Defense is part of that picture too. The Canadian military is in Texas for an F-35 milestone event, as Ottawa weighs its CF-18 replacement program. 16 F-35s are on order, with questions lingering over an additional 72. The backdrop is tense. Tariff threats, certification concerns for Canadian aviation, and even Arctic security debates that, at one point, got tangled up with talk of Greenland and U.S. missile defense. A caution from Washington's ambassador about possible NORAD changes if Canada buys fewer jets was later clarified by the State Department, but it highlights the stakes. In 2026, trade, industrial policy, defense, and the Arctic will be a single conversation, not four separate ones, with climate impacts in the north and supply chain resiliency both shaping what decisions look like. A brief note for cross-border travelers in Indigenous communities. The Okanagan Nation Alliance is advising members to exercise extreme caution when entering the U.S., citing concern over current immigration policies and potential impacts on Indigenous people crossing the border. If that affects you or your family, check in with your band leadership or legal resources before you go. Before we go, a quick Ottawa checklist. Senators at Hurricanes tonight. Watch the opening 10 minutes, and special teams. Fatigue could be a factor. CBC Ottawa and the Ottawa Public Library will host a Women's Hockey Olympic Watch event, family-friendly and free. Nationally, keep an eye on early moves around the 2026 CUSMA review and on Canadian delegations shuttling to Washington to shape the supply chain and AI rules that will define the next decade. That's all for today. If you're heading out, bundle up. Sunny, with a high of -5 degrees Celsius and a low of -14. We'll be back with more Ottawa stories and how national politics, AI, and the climate are reshaping our city's economy and our teams on the ice.